What's up, everybody? Back at it again with another group review, obviously. Eric, Perry, and obviously Carlos here. Today, in preparation and waiting for High Life, because High Life is unfortunately not here yet.
Not yet.
So we kind of had to settle for, well, at least I had to settle. I think Perry was actually pretty excited to see this.
Yes. I was moderately excited to see this.
Eric was kind of excited. I wasn't. I wasn't, you know, out of all the films that are coming out, I was like, ugh, about this one, but we went to go see the Stephen King adaptation, the millionth one that we've seen put into film. This one is Pet Sematary.
Pet Sematary
just came out. So me going into this film, I had the lowest possible expectation for this movie because I wasn't a fan of the original because I haven't seen it. So I don't. You know, I don't have any really attachment to it. And I heard from Perry that he says it's horrible.
It is garbage.
Is it?
Yes.
Sorry for anybody who's a fan of the original, but you know, Perry said he hates it. So
can't stand it, maybe.
But me coming out of it, I know that these guys probably feel differently, but I didn't hate this movie. There's obviously things about it that I don't like at all. And most of it is just because of you know, really expected Hollywood horror tropes that are just kind of riddled throughout this film. But overall, I didn't hate this movie. I definitely felt the tension for most parts, at least when it came to the horror. The horror aspect of this film, in terms of tension, I enjoyed enough, at least coming out of it. There's other things about this film that I don't like at all, and it has a lot to do with the fact that it's just really conventional and by the numbers and really cookie cutter, and especially like the way this film started in the first act. I was like, ugh, this is so by the numbers. There's everything from the score, the character writing, the acting, the direction, everything was just like, oh my god. I'm so sick of this horror narrative with the perfect primed up family and things going wrong. It just kind of runs into the same kind of bullshit that I just don't like when it comes to these kind of mainstream horror films. But I think I've talked enough. Let's let somebody else go, you know, have it. Anybody else want to go ahead and jump in?
Do you want to go, Perry?
I will say what I wanted from this film was a film that surpassed the original, which is not too high of an expectation. And although it did surpass the original in many ways, I was still pretty underwhelmed by this film. Like you said, it was pretty by the numbers. There was only maybe 2 or 3 creative decisions in the film that I was like, wow, that's really cool. If only I could have gotten more of that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
I will say I did like the acting a lot more in this one than in the original.
It's not a high bar.
That's not a high bar. But I do like Jason Clarke as the dad in this film. I'm not crazy about him, but compared to Daniel Midkiff, I'll take him, you know?
Alright, Eric.
I thought
this guy right here.
The guy who loves it the most.
Right?
Oh yeah, now the tables are turned. That guy, that main actor, I thought his acting was abysmal. I hated it.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, you were in completely one note.
Why did they keep
You were
casting
just
him
sleepwalking through this fucking movie.
I didn't think he was that bad.
I kind of thought he was. I think the only...
I don't think he was that bad, but he's definitely bland.
He annoyed me. His acting really annoyed me.
I found him serviceable at best, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Serviceable, I can accept that. Serviceable, but still very bland. But anyway, go ahead.
No, I mean, I just thought this movie was incredibly boring. The whole movie was completely uninspired. I saw everything coming a mile away. Every time a sequence would happen, I was like, okay, let's just get it over with. Let's just do it. And just fucking move on to the next scene. But then the next scene's fucking boring. But the only thing I liked about this movie is the little girl. I think she was the only really good actor in the movie. I enjoyed her whenever she was on screen. And I'm not going to spoil it, but I think the third act where she has a lot of room to shine, I thought she was really great. And I enjoyed her.
I actually thought the mother and the girl were the best actors in the movie, because I thought the mother did a pretty good job.
The mother to me was serviceable. I thought she was fine. Yeah.
I just thought, at least from somebody who I don't I haven't seen anything with her in it, but she pulled off like being traumatized and having grief pretty good, like for somebody who I've never heard of. But the little girl, yeah, I think she did pretty good for the kind of job that she had for this film.
If honestly if she was given much better just writing like in material, I think she would have been like really great. But you know, she's given some pretty lackluster dialogue sometimes. But
I feel the same about John Lithgow. Like, I actually prefer Judd in the original because Fred Gwynn is like the best thing about that movie.
Really?
And I swear I'm not going to harp on the original too much in this review.
John Lithgow, yes. Sorry, I just totally forgot he was in this movie, and he's actually pretty.
Yeah.
I actually liked his character.
I liked him too, but I wish they would have given him like better writing and more to do in this film.
Yeah, he wasn't bad.
Yeah,
he wasn't bad about it.
I will say one of the biggest negatives I have, and this is probably my biggest issue with the film, is a lot of the practical and CGI effects. Jarringly bad. I mean, just jarringly awful.
That's actually not one of my criticisms, really.
I hated a lot of the effects in this movie. Like, it really took me out of the experience.
Yeah. For some reason, I didn't feel that too much. Like some of the CGI, like in the background, like there was a few scenes in particular that was like, that's horrible green screen. What the fuck is that?
Well, I know exactly what
you're talking about. Right?
I know exactly what you're
talking about. It almost felt to me like the filmmakers knew like the effects that they were trying to pull off weren't that great, so they would like jump away to another camera shot, so it didn't give the audience enough time to look at it and be like, wow, that's not convincing.
Yep, during that sequence I was like, are we supposed to be scared by the atmosphere?
Yeah, I think it was like when they were like in the cemetery or something, and it was just like the green screen just looked off. Like it looked like I was watching Aquaman or something. It just looked bad.
It looked really bad. It was obvious green screen.
But yeah, I mean, one thing that I'll say about the thing that bothered me the most about this movie is, I think, just the writing. But then again, this is, you know, I don't know how accurate this is to Stephen King's novel, or how faithful it is. I don't know if, you know, but either way, it's not an excuse, because if you're adapting the screenplay, you can make it better. That's why you adapt it to film. So I can't say, oh, it's not the film's fault, because it is the film's fault, because they had the job of adapting it to what it should be in a film. But yeah, like in terms of story, like Eric's hit the nail on the head when he says that it's like predictable as shit.
And by the way, I haven't seen the original movie, and I haven't read the novel.
And I was trying, and for that reason, I was trying to give it more of a pass on that, because I know that almost everybody knows how this story goes down. Like, I haven't even seen any of them, but it's referenced so much and it's so popular, like, you know, in pop culture and shit. So it's like, most people kind of know the road that this film goes down. But I honestly think, even if I did not know anything about this, I would have been able to predict it from start to finish, because it just sets everything up in a really predictable way where you know what's going to happen next.
Yeah. Majority of the scares in the film, which really annoyed me, is always start out with someone hearing a loud thud, and they keep on hearing loud thuds, and then it's like, insert predictable scare here, you know?
Yeah.
And I will say a big problem I had with the film was, God, man, this really bugged me. It's like, it's not that it wasn't like faithful to the novel, but like I said, some of the creative decisions were just jarringly, like, I feel like went in a really poor direction with the film. Like I said, the girl really shined in the third act, but like the ending itself, it left me cold. Like, really? This is how we're ending it?
Oh, so you didn't like the ending of the film?
I didn't. I mean, it did subvert me, and I knew I didn't expect it because I thought it would follow the book more. But I feel like the way it plays out in the book, which I haven't read, I just know how it ends. The way it plays out in the book and the way it plays out in the original movie, I prefer, you know, like, over the way this ended.
But okay, to move to maybe some more of the positives, because I think I might be the only one that has some sort of positives about this film. I felt like in the moments where you're supposed to feel the tension in terms of the horror, I felt most of it. Not that I was scared or I felt unsettled. Like, this film doesn't do anything like that. Like, it doesn't psychologically fuck with you. It doesn't really make you feel unsettled or like just eerie. It just, in terms of just feeling tension in a certain like scene or a certain situation, I would feel that for the most part when it was trying to do that. And you know, one thing I think I liked the most about the film is how the camera work was utilized for the horror. Yeah, it's not the most, because you know, when I went into this film, I went into with the mindset of I'm going to watch a conventional horror movie. That's the kind of mindset I went into this movie. Like, I'm not going to watch anything that's uncompromising, nothing that's coming from a true like you know, art vision from somebody. Just something that a studio is pumping out and seeing if whether or not it's going to be subversive for me or if it's going to be enjoyable or engaging. And with that standard, I walked out of it, you know, saying, well, it wasn't really that horrible. Like, because when you have films like La Llorona coming out, sure, we don't know yet because we haven't seen it, but it looks like shit.
Yeah.
You know, other films that come out, fucking Ouija, the first Ouija,
The first Annabelle.
First Annabelle, like stuff like that. Like, you just The Nun, like shit like that.
Yeah, any number of terrible.
You know, if you're comparing
movies.
this to those movies, like, I think this is a pretty decent movie compared to that. But if you're
It's
just
better.
it's better. Oh yeah, like, but if you're comparing this to like genuinely great horror films, no, I wouldn't even put this up there with that at all. Like, this is just a okay, pretty enjoyable horror movie for Hollywood standards, because Hollywood doesn't do anything except crap out shit nowadays when it comes to horror and even just movies in general. But I guess that's why I came out maybe enjoying it a little bit more, because some of the aspects of it I did enjoy. Like I said, the camera work, how I was able to build up tension for me. I felt it for the most part when it was supposed to. Yeah, I mean, the sound design is good. I mean, the production is good, but that's not really, I shouldn't be praising it, because if you have millions of dollars from Hollywood, you should be having crisp
Yeah.
production. But yeah, I mean, the positives I say is the way it's produced. I mean, except for some of the green screen, like we said, it looks like there's like a few scenes where I'm like, wow, that looks horrible.
Yeah.
But for me, the biggest positive is that I felt the tension when it wanted me to, for the most part. And I know that, you know, Eric don't feel that way, but for me,
I truly didn't.
for me, I felt it for the most part, even if I really didn't care about the characters too much, even if I really was able to predict everything else happening, I still was feeling most of the tension, and that's because of the camera work and some of the sound design.
There were some wide shots of like the actual pet cemetery that I thought were pretty cool.
Yeah.
Because in terms of like trying to build atmosphere, especially with the scenes with the pet cemetery, you can tell that there was actually effort put forward, you know?
Yeah.
You know, that's why I'm not going to say that it's a film Hollywood just tried to shit out for money, you know?
Yeah.
Because there was definitely some scenes where I felt like they were trying.
Yeah.
It's just unfortunately like, you know, it's like there's always that one or two things that'll just take you out of the movie.
Yeah.
Like I said, the effects took me out of this movie. And then, not to harp too much on the negatives, because I know we're trying to talk about the positive.
That's okay, go ahead, man.
I understand there's like a suspension of disbelief when it comes to films like this, but there was definitely some like jarring like logic issues in this film. I'm gonna get more into when we do our spoiler section of the review.
We're gonna do a small spoiler section after
Very
this.
small.
Yeah.
But like I said, there was definitely some logic issues I noticed, and there was like that kind of really took me out of the experience.
Yeah, I can see that. Well, anybody want to give any more just general thoughts on it before we get into spoilers?
I think my biggest issue with this movie comes down to the fact that everything this movie had to offer, I felt like I've already seen, and other horror movies do it a million times better. There were some times where I'm like, wow, I wish I was watching Hereditary, or I wish I was watching The Killing of a Sacred Deer, or like The Exorcist, or just any number of really very solid or great horror movies.
Genuinely good horror films. This movie does not even touch those. Like,
Yeah.
not even close.
What's shocking is one of the co-writers, which got me excited for it, helped co-write the screenplay for A Bigger Splash and the Suspiria remake. So I was hoping like maybe there was some like, they were actually, you know, like they're really gonna surprise me with this one, because I try not to get too excited about mainstream horror.
Yeah.
But I was hoping I'd get a genuine surprise with this one, but I was just completely let down.
There was a few bright spots in the movie for me.
Yeah, I mean,
some of them are a little spoilery, so I'm definitely not going to get too into them. But I think there were just like big moments for the movie that did kind of work. One is a tragic moment. I'm obviously not going to say what it is. Well, I guess if you like know the source material, you already know it.
Yeah.
But you know, I like the ending. The ending was entertaining, which is pretty much mostly what I wanted, was just an entertaining horror movie, and would have been more elevated if it was a little bit more tense. Because I honestly didn't feel the tension, and I'm sorry, I didn't go into this movie trying to hate it. I actually wanted to really enjoy it, but it didn't really, you know, work out for me that way, sadly.
That's fine. I kind of, I mean, I kind of understand it, so I don't really, I'm not going to argue too much with you there.
But it's not terrible. I mean, you know, it was just very, very underwhelming, and I would be lying if I say I wasn't bored throughout the majority of this movie.
Yeah, I would consider this a pretty humdrum, mundane film, to be honest. Even though there were 2 or 3 things in there that legitimately, you know, like, wow, that's pretty decent.
Yeah.
If only like the other 97% of this film did more stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly how I felt. Yep.
Well, all right. I think we've talked enough about it generally. So let's go ahead and give our grades for it. I'll go first. Obviously, like I said in the beginning, I didn't come out hating this movie. I enjoyed not all of it, but I'm not sure if I even enjoyed most of it, but maybe more than half of it. But a lot of that was only due because I just enjoyed the camera work for the most part, and how it was able to build tension and stuff throughout all the horror parts of it. But there's other stuff about it that I really didn't like. The character setup, the setting to begin with, just the tropes, the constant tropes we see all the time, the uninspiring score too, kind of cliche for the most part.
The score was like non-existent.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Bad effects for some parts, and yeah, and you know, after this movie was done, I was thinking about giving it a fresh rating, but now just thinking about it more and hearing what they have to say about it and just kind of letting it sink in, I don't think I can give this movie a fresh rating. It's just too, it's too by the numbers, and there's not much of artistic craft or much of, I don't know, there's not enough in here for me to really appreciate from a filmmaking perspective to recommend to somebody. So I'll give it close to a fresh rating. I'll give it a 5.5 out of 10.
Okay, well, it's tradition.
Yeah,
Perry,
it's your turn. Eric, right?
No, Perry.
Oh, Perry goes second?
No, I always go last.
Yeah, Perry always goes last.
Does he really?
Yeah, he does, yeah.
Wow, my memory's shit.
You're good. Go ahead.
Okay, well, fuck. Oof. It's not terrible. It's not terrible, but I really don't recommend it. There's no reason for me to recommend it other than if you just really like Pet Sematary and just want to watch it, but there's nothing that's gonna make me just want to come back to this movie for any reason. Like I said, the little kid actress, she was really good. I'm glad that she got work, and I hope she gets more work.
Yeah.
I'm debating between a 4 or a 5. I'll give it a low 5. I'll go with that.
I'm gonna give it even 5 out of 10.
Oh, 5 out of 10.
Yeah, so around the.
So we're actually pretty similar here.
Yeah,
surprisingly.
Yeah, because when we got out, when it's so funny because when the movie was done, like I felt like we all had a really divisive opinion. Because Eric was like, "Oh my god, I hate this movie," and I was like,
I said I borderline hate it, but
borderline. That's what I'm sorry. He said he borderline hated it. But for me, I was like, actually didn't mind it all that much. I thought it was okay. And then Perry, kind of same, I guess more like same as mine. Not completely the same, but you know, similar.
I kind of wanted to give it a 4, but I'm just gonna be, you know, generous and weigh out all the pros and cons, and I'll just say that 5 out of 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we gave our rating, so we're gonna go ahead and do a quick spoiler segment. There's not really much to spoil here, so I'll just kind of,
not really,
you know, gloss over some things that bothered me. So there's this one tragic scene that Eric mentioned, right? That he said that's actually one thing that worked for the most part.
Yeah.
It worked for me, honestly, like the way that, okay, by the way, the spoiler is that the daughter dies because of a tragic...
Not the son, like in the original.
You kind of see it in the trailer, so it's like basically ruined.
Oh, so the son dies in the original.
Yeah,
Okay.
but this time it was the girl instead.
Okay. So the daughter dies in this film, and like the way that it was actually captured and filmed, I thought was pretty good. Like it was pretty immersive the way they did it. They played with the use of sound and camera and everything, and I was like, wow, that actually worked. But when it shows like the daughter's actual body, I was like, that just took me out.
Yeah.
How the fuck is a giant semi truck gonna leave a perfectly clean corpse on the side of the road?
I was thinking the same thing.
That makes no sense.
I thought that was a little weird.
I was like, that takes me out, because I'm like, you had me like the way you filmed it. I feel like the film just didn't have any balls, and it didn't want to go far and actually show a gory kid on the side of the road when it knows damn well.
Right.
Yeah, it's a rated R movie.
It's a rated R movie.
It's like, if it's rated R, why wouldn't you go for that all the way? Like, why don't you actually be realistic and show like a real mangled corpse that it would be? Because if if an 8-year-old kid gets hit by a semi truck, you're not gonna see a clean corpse on the side of the road.
Yeah,
Right.
Hollywood doesn't like to be too horrifying. It's horror, but Hollywood has a limit. It's like, oh,
At least some
we can't show
blood stains on the side of the truck or something.
And yeah, like honestly, I thought when it happened that there was gonna be a whole bunch of like blood and guts, like
so
scraped
too.
on the road or something. And
no, she's just off to the side.
Yeah.
She's just off to the side perfectly, like no much blood. They don't cut to like a full, what's it called? Like, you don't get to see her full body. It's just like just her torso and legs, and there's like literally no blood.
Yeah, it just really took me out. And then like, you know, you brought up, okay, yeah, Hollywood has standards, they don't want to be like that, but it kind of sucks because they went kind of that far with it, because the beginning scene, a little boy gets his arm ripped off by a clown in the sewer,
right?
And he's just like crawling in the street with blood coming out of his arm, and it's like,
that's true.
I mean, sure, it's not as gory as probably this scene would have been if they went all the way with it, but it still shows that like
that would have been more effective.
Yeah, like they go far with certain things, so they could have done it here. But.
And where the truck hits her, like where she landed compared to where the truck hit her, like that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
You know?
I didn't get that at all.
Yeah,
either.
She would have like flew. She would have been on the road, you know, not off to the side where she landed. That was so close to the truck.
I mean, she would have either flew or she would have just been pummeled underneath the truck.
That's what I thought.
Either or.
But yeah, that's one spoiler. I was just like, that really bothered me. Like I was just, it sucks because like I said, it set it up really well. But then like after you see that, I was just like, wow.
Yeah. No, yeah, that was. I don't think it bothered me as much, but no, there was definitely like, that's a little weird, don't you think?
I didn't like the way they wrote Pascal's like character, because he played a more like a relevant, like a prevalent role in the novel and the original movie. He was like barely in the film. I will say I do like the dream sequences where he just walks through a doorway and he's like in the pet cemetery.
Yeah.
And you see
I kind of
Pascal
dug that a little bit. Yeah.
Even though I don't like the effects that they did for like Pascal's like brain showing and everything.
I thought that was kind of alright.
I thought the effects were good.
Yeah, I thought the effects were pretty good. Honestly,
it might just be me. I didn't care for them.
I like the intent, but it didn't really work out for me.
And you know one
I'm sorry for all the sour grapes, but I'm just being real.
That was fine.
The grapes are sour.
the grapes are sour.
I don't get the reference.
To get it, the ground is sour.
The ground is sour. See, that's how unmemorable this movie was to Eric, is that he came to remember like one of the biggest lines from the movie. Yeah.
Was that really in the movie?
The ground is sour? Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Damn.
I will say, like, one of my favorite scene in the movie is like John Lithgow's like death scene, because when the girl is like killing him, her face like contorts into his wife's face, and it's like his wife who was stabbing him.
That's like a classic.
That's legitimately a great scene.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, one thing I have to say that also kind of bothered me about the dad character is, okay, so this movie trying to, like, in the beginning, it tries to go for this theme of like afterlife, right?
Yeah.
About, like, who believes in afterlife, and because the wife believes in it basically, and then the father doesn't. And one thing that really bugged me is that I was like, okay, interesting. I wonder where they're gonna go with this. And one, it kind of just gets ignored, like it kind of they just drop it. But then when it gets brought back up again, they just paint the dad, the atheist skeptic, as just the guy who just hates God. And I hated that.
I thought the same thing. Yeah, I was like, this is a little weird.
This is lame, because he's like, oh, God can kill his own children or something like that.
It felt very one note.
And it was just like, I'm so sick of seeing atheists and skeptics being depicted in film as just people who just hate God.
Yeah, it's just lazy writing.
Yeah, it's like you couldn't have add any more depth to that. Like, you just picked the easiest trope for this kind of character, and it makes it really one-dimensional. And it's just like, fuck, like, that's something that really bothered me, and that's why, again, like, thinking about it more makes me be like, okay, yeah, I can't really give this film a fresh rating, because it just too by the numbers with a lot of the stuff that it was doing, and it's really aggravating.
I remember when watching the movie, I wanted more conflict of the father really like emotionally struggling back and forth. Just like, am I really gonna like bring back my daughter just so I can have like more time with her because I can't accept.
He had no internal battle at all.
Yeah, it was just like
straight to it.
I know, like, you know, you cut to a scene and, you know, he's like, I mean, we're in spoilers, so he fucking slips that guy, the little
Judd.
Yeah. And then, you know, he goes and does it, buries his daughter in that, you know,
in the supernatural grave that brings people back to life.
But there wasn't really any like internal conflict, and I was like, oh my god, could you do that? Please?
I was thinking about that, and I was like, should I give it a pass, because the film's trying to make it clear, like, oh, the power of that place just draws people in, and I'm like, yeah, I get it, like it's a place that, you know, the power just makes people just get sucked into it and they don't think logically, but at the same time, it would have been nice to see some sort of moral struggle in between that, because it gives your character more depth, and we can care more about him, and too, because we're like, oh shit, he actually struggled. But here it was just instant. It was just like, like literally the moment his daughter died, he made a mission to go do what he's gonna do, and it just felt very one note too. So.
Also, John Lithgow would have known he would have been drugged, because he hardly drank anything and he passed out. But he was like playing like he didn't know that he was drugged. It's like, you know when you're drugged, especially when you've been drugged, especially when you hardly had anything to drink and you just black out. I did not buy that at all.
Yeah, I did not. I was like, you should know you're being drugged and do something.
So to wrap up the spoiler, after the little girl kills Judd, she tries to obviously finish off the family, and while she's attacking the mom, the mom actually drops Gage out of the window for Jason Clarke to catch her, catch him, and the mom gets stabbed, of course, and then afterwards, which, remember how I was talking about the logic issues earlier?
Yeah.
The little girl drags the mom. I get it, she's like an undead corpse, but that doesn't make you, you know, like, stronger.
Oh, yeah,
that doesn't give you superhuman strength where you can drag someone like
I just
3
assumed
times
that,
your size.
I assumed that it gave her supernatural strength.
Yeah, I remember that. I was like, well, logically, but no, it's a supernatural thing. I'm willing to let it pass.
I assumed, because there's other aspects, I think, of her, like, you know, when she comes back as a dead zombie, supernatural ghost, or whatever it is. Like, I think it gave a few hints that she's stronger than what a normal human being is. So I was trying to give it.
I must have missed it, but I mean, I guess I can see how that'd be possible.
Yeah, I mean, not saying that your issue like isn't necessarily valid, because I mean, I thought of it when I was watching it. I was like, that's obviously not possible, but I was like, whatever. She's apparently like a superhuman kid, and she's probably dragging her, so whatever. I'll give it a pass, but. No, I mean, I feel you on that, though.
One thing I'm kind of glad is, I really like it when horror movies do at least take a chance and not let films have happy endings. I really like that with horror, and obviously this movie didn't have a happy ending. Everybody fucking dies, and they're gonna literally. It implies that they're gonna burn the fucking little child.
Yeah, basically the only one that's left is the little boy, and the film implies that little boy is about to get murdered so hard, big time. So yeah, I gotta agree with Eric. I kind of did enjoy that ending because it was unforgiving. So
it was unforgiving, yeah.
The ending of the original wasn't exactly upbeat either. You know, kind of ends the same. Everybody dies, but I just like the way it played out more, because it was more like. It was more human and whatnot, and it stayed focused on the theme of Pet Sematary, and I think the overall theme of the Pet Sematary is grief, and it focused more on the grief of like, everyone around me's dead, I had to put down my son, I had to kill the cat, you know, what do I do now? Now my wife is dead too.
Yeah, I gotta say that the ending, even though it's unforgiving, it's not the most thematic.
No.
It's not the deepest ending. It kind of just drops any kind of theme it was going for, which is kind of go for something that's like, edgy and depressing.
Yeah, it just kind of felt like, it went full horror movie, which is fine, because it was fun, but it wasn't like, you know, very thematic or anything.
Well, alright, I guess that's it, guys.
Yeah, just stay home and watch Hereditary. Just watch
Yeah, just stay home and watch Hereditary, watch The Witch, watch
Killing of a Sacred Deer.
Watch any horror movie that's not this one. I mean, you could, again, it's not terrible, but if you're gonna watch it, I would highly recommend to wait until it like comes on Netflix or Hulu or Prime or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a movie that I would really go out and see and pay money to go see it.
It feels like a movie you'd watch on Netflix. It feels like a Netflix exclusive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of does. But alright, I guess that's it, everybody. Hope you guys enjoyed our review for Pet Sematary.
Pet Sematary.
Yeah, I wonder how much it's gonna make at the box office. I have no fucking clue.
Yeah, I wonder how it's going to be received in general.
The budget doesn't seem too big for this movie, so probably
Apparently not.
at least 20-30 million probably.
But yeah, if you really enjoyed what we had to say, please give this video a like, and please share it amongst your friends. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to be updated on more film-related content. Yeah.